So here we are again on a windy day, back in the Allmand here. As you can see, we got rid of the trays or the fiberglass build-ins. Got some pieces missing over here that we got out. Got rid of all the wiring, everything of that nature. And today I'm going after some delicate stuff. Well, I hope you all can hear me out here, as windy as it is, and planes going over and everything else. But I got to go after a couple delicate things. And what I mean by that is like these trim switches here. I looked for 2 years for these, for the Donzi, and I couldn't find one. Now I have 2. And I have no Donzi. Or this bilge pump switch. They're different. They just look different. So I'm going to get that. Maybe this trim switch, bow down. It looks like it was for trim tabs. That looks like it was something custom made. I'm just going to get all these little pieces, like I said, anything I can salvage, like I said. But these things over here, to me, are worth their weight in gold. And then I'll go ahead and I'll start pulling out what's left. Like, I haven't even been up underneath the bow here. It's a little scary under there. I know that wood's going to come out. There's no reason for that to be there. And there's a tank in there or something. I don't know what's going on. Jack had problems with it yesterday, but we're going to work on it today a little bit. Yeah, the weather's not really cooperating with me today. Went ahead and we got some stuff out from the dash. We got a lot of stuff out from underneath of the deck, front deck here. Not really sure what that blue barrel is. Looks like a water tank of some kind, but if it's ballast, it only holds about 4 or 5 gallons. I mean, that's what, 35, 40 pounds? I don't know. Either way, we're moving along, even in the wind. But at the moment, I'm getting more things blown in the boat than I am getting out of the boat. So I think I'm going to call it a night, and we'll give it another shot tomorrow. I'm also right in the middle of a deal with a guy in New Jersey over a 280T transom shield. We'll see how that works out. But for now, it's time to retreat to the garage. Man, it's so windy, it sounds like Kansas during the Wizard of Oz out there. Well, don't think that we're just tossing things at will now. This is when the critical moments come, where you find all these tiny screws that were used for hangers, which they're pretty critical sometimes when you need one. Again, some more of these decorative screws with the big fat heads. And then some more machine screws. Of course, these plates. This one's a little rough. That one could be cleaned up. But either one of them, I mean, you can't find these. I mean, and if you have to spend a couple days trying to retouch up the paint, so be it. I mean, if you're doing it over the winter time, it's something to do. Got a build switch, got a trim switch over here. I don't know what I'm going to do with that, but of course, you know, it's nice to have in stock in case it's needed. And it'll add these screws to our boxes of other screws that we already have. That probably more than half of them came the same way. Then there's a couple pieces that are just kind of curious. Like, I want to strip this dashboard of some pieces. That control works perfectly. For sitting out as long as it has, it's a little ugly, but I mean, if I knew somebody with a workboat, they'd be all about that because it works perfectly. Got a couple of these brass filters here. I'm sure somebody would want these guys. These are nice for like a classic restore or something like that. I don't know if this is the trim system for a Volvo 270T or not. I'm not really sure. I haven't figured that out, but it is something interesting all by itself with all those solenoids and such on it. And of course, we have just some other miscellaneous stuff that may be of interest. But then we have this tiny little pile over here of possibly returning parts. Got a fuse box, got a grounding block, a couple motor mounts, some exhaust tips. Haven't decided whether we're going to go 4-inch or those 3-inch there. If the 3-inch, we're probably going to send some things out to be chromed anyway. So if that's the case, it's better to send a few things out to be chromed than just 1 or 2. And a couple small parts of some steering there, but also that may be new in the cards. But this is how you get started on a project, one tiny piece at a time. Just doing a little editing on the Allmand on Raceboat Life here, and as I'm sitting here I just happen to glance over and find something. And here we have a missing cleat off the back of the boat. There's a lot of things to find out around here. Yeah, it's boat moving day for the old Allmand. We got to get her in the driveway. All done. Beesmeyer from here to there. Raceboat from there to here. John Allmand from there to here. Yeah, and there's a whole crap load of tongue weight on that thing. You have to use a actual floor jack to pump it up and down because it already bent the actual crank handle thing. For being the first short move with the new tires, they are nice. I didn't see them flex over and bend like the old ones did. Unreal. I mean, those things look like they were ready to pop off the rims. These just slid right along like they're supposed to, because you know, when you make a hard turn, the rear is only going to pivot. The front has to kind of like slide a little bit as it turns. So, and the old tires, they would just be like all wobbly sideways. Now these guys here, man, they just kind of sit up tall and just kind of scoot a little bit sideways as they go. Very nice. Kind of dawned on me a second ago. Got number 1 of all Novas. If you got a boat, that's where it originated from. We have the last John Allmand SuperNova 19. They turned them into a fisherman, they called it. And it was a center console boat. So we have the first, we have the last of Brownie's creations. Now we have one in between. And this is another new first. It's probably been at least 50 years since 2 Nova 19s have been in the same frame together, even with Brownie boats and Allmand boats. It doesn't matter. I don't think 2 of them have been in the same camera frame in 50 years. Let's see if we can make that one look like that one. So we've actually got it in the driveway for a little bit here, and now we're starting to get a good look at what's going on. Pulled out my tape measure and doing some measurements. I think I'm going to have to move one bracket over here on a wheel well to accommodate for the spring lengths to turn it into a tandem trailer. We're not going to go with the triples. That's just insane. They should have saw me trying to get it in the driveway. Everything was just dragging, and it's missing a wheel on the other side. Then pretty much we're just going to pick everything up, the bunks, everything, pick them up, move them forward, one whole bar basically. The rear bars are separated, all of them are separated by 4 foot, but the rear bar is separated by about 3/8, so it does change a little bit here and there. So, but the real thing is going to be getting this thing off the trailer, and then it's time to go at it with some cut-off wheels and make it a whole lot smaller than it is, because at the moment it's bigger than the raceboat trailer. And yes, I've thought about putting it underneath the raceboat, but it would never work with the way it's set up. So, but at the moment I need to PB blast everything that I plan on taking apart. Hopefully, I mean, a lot of this shackles and such look like they've never rusted up, so hopefully a lot of them will be salvageable, because there's a lot of them and it's going to add up to a lot of money if we start replacing them all. Don't you worry, 'cause back. Okay, enough of the ducks. We went ahead and we did some test running here. At the moment, we're off the trailer. We're not going to leave this like this overnight. It's getting a little late right now to pull it out. But we are all set. Just had to get around that nice roller. That's a beauty there, let me tell you. Yeah, I think we're ready to go. Of course, as soon as we get it out from underneath it here, we're just not going to let it hang on a gantry crane here. We're going to get at least a jack or two underneath it to make sure it sits up straight. But I got to tell you, it was a misery buying this gantry crane. I forget, maybe it was Harbor Freight. It delivered. It took like 3 weeks to get here. I don't know. I think I paid over $400 for it and was just dreading it the whole time. Needed it for that race boat over there, but I've now taken the tops off of what, 4 or 5 boats with it also. Had motors in and out of the race boat multiple times. It's paid for itself so many times over. I just kick myself every time I think about it. Tomorrow shall be another day. So what, I have to feed you first before I can do anything? And this is wildlife. Alright, Ducky, stay out of the garage. We'll come get you something to eat. As I was saying yesterday, pretty much these bunks have to be moved up one of these rails, all of them, including the rollers, everything. And from there, then we're gonna go ahead and move the axles. But of course, they have brake lines attached, so it's gonna make it just a tad bit more difficult, but it shouldn't be too much. Get this thing shortened down to a reasonable size. Got to cut that whole tongue part off too. First thing I'm going through though is these U-bolts. Make sure they start coming undone, because if not, Jack's gonna have to make a trip up to the store with his bank card. So we got Jack doing some touch-up paint. We got our bars removed. It's time to start moving some bunks. I look like stop motion photography.
Don't make me kill you.
You got 12 minutes. Go. Just ending a break here. All the bunks have been moved. Everything's forward. Of course, we don't have the Stenson, I guess it's called, locked down yet, because we want to find out exactly where the bow sits. Now that everything has been moved, we kind of approximately know, but it's going to be close one way or another. The next thing is we're going to ditch this whole front axle, because it's the only axle without brakes on it. We're going to have to take the brake lines off, move that whole set of axles up here, probably somewhere around here. I don't know. I'm going to look at the 19 over here, and I know it's a single axle, so I'll just split the difference and I'll put the single axle right here, basically. So that's the plan. Let's see if it comes to fruition. And so far, knock on wood, we haven't had any breakage, which means so far it's cost us nothing but a little PB blaster and some elbow grease. As I keep telling my neighbor, I'd rather have too much than not enough. It's easy enough to take off what we don't need. Oh yeah, and actually we also have to, these spring brackets here, these are 26 inches, and for some reason I believe these are 31 inches across here, and then it goes this 26 inches again. And it's because the one bracket's missing on that side. It bolts up to the one side. So we're going to have to move that one in a few more inches. But for right now, we're just going to take this whole axle off and just leave it hang on this pivot point and then put in a new one, and then we'll worry about that later. Because as you can see, it's a little odd. It's a little weirded out shape at the moment. Well, the build's been called due to rain. We got everything unhooked, all the brake systems, everything's been cut down, and we were just getting ready to start moving the carriage forward, and it opened up and started raining. So should pass soon, and maybe we'll get back to it. If not, maybe again tomorrow. It's funny, it looks like a nice summer afternoon sunset. It's almost pitch black here, it's just all the camera. As you can see, we got the wheels moved forward, or the carriages basically, and got them squared up so that way it'll track properly. Now all we have to do is fix a lot of brake lines, first off, and basically take this whole section, 4-foot section, right off. From there, we're going to go ahead and fix the fenders, and then we'll be ready to put the boat back on it, at least for now. But it's been a long day. Jack just went in. Almost forgot the camera out in the yard, so I had to come out and get it, and this is a day for us. Not to mention I have a pile of stuff to go through tomorrow. Man, I hope y'all can hear me because it's just smoking wind out here. But it is amazing that the steering still turns a little bit. Alright. Not in my wheelhouse